Hey guys, welcome. So, if you guys saw my video on my other channel going over Super Gogeta and Super Vegeta Souls, you know that in that video I said, hey, on Warden Games I'll be covering the other characters who got their buff. And in this case, it's of course Pikkon, Janemba, Gotenks, and Buuhan. I figured that I would do like this, so I could easily go into detail of what these characters do, and make it more, I guess, real. Like, obviously, just me talking to the viewer about what these characters do, and I can always draw points to old characters. So, of course, the new gameplay enhancer update contains Gogeta and Vegito. I didn't go over the PvP Super Souls, as you can see down here, but I'll be going over all that today. We'll be going over Pikkon, Janemba, Gogeta, Gotenks, Buuhan, Vegito. Oh, well, Gogeta and Vegito's PvP Souls. And their PvP souls. So, Pikkon, as you guys saw in the video, he got a Super Soul as well. Pikkon's I feel like Pikkon's very fun, but let's go over his details. So, Pikkon's is called, I got a super attack saved just for you, and at the start of the match applies the following effects to self. He gets 30% base max health. Pikkon had a decent health stat, but I wanted to increase it. He gets 50% key, which is a 5 key bar buff. He didn't have a lot, so I wanted to buff it. Key recovery to supplement the key he gets. Not too much, but not too little. He gets a 10% inflicted damage buff. Pikkon, he can ramp up damage very quickly. I didn't want to go too crazy, but I wanted to make him a damage-dealing machine at the same time. Just like a very formidable character. To supplement the damage, you get some defense with some damage reduction, just a solid 10%. Not too bad, but not too crazy. He gets effects gained when boosting allies 50%. So I started this trend with Bardock and Broly. This effect here will just make it so when you go down and you lock onto an ally, it'll be much easier to, buff them up, right? Broly and Bardock both get 30%. I decided to start bumping it up to 50%. I feel like that's probably a little bit... I'll probably do this, so I don't spoil the details. You guys probably saw it already, but... Oh yeah, and he shortens revival time by 25%. Metal Cooler does something similar. Yeah, he does. Oh, speaking of, Metal Cooler and Turles in this pack, so... There was a bug with Namegoku as well. But Turles and Metal Cooler's stats were not activating. So this was not activating, and this was not activating for Turles. This was long since patched in this update. You can, in the Gogeta update. So these characters, I guess, are technically buffed because these were never activating. So they're all activating now. Metal Cooler's a bit better now. So is Turles. So that's nice. But yeah, Pikkon gets a very nice 25% shortened zone revival time buff. It's going to be very nice for getting yourself revived for sure. And then Limit Burst will always be level 2 at minimum. Namek Vegeta has an ability like this right here. But his level 3 at all times. This is just so it just incentivizes you to play as him. This is usually given as support characters, and as we'll get into, when this character is KO'd, the following effects occur to self and allies, one time only, permanent. When he dies, he gives these buffs. Damage reduction, key, recovery, and max key. 100% key recovery is actually insane, I found in-game. This literally makes it so you will always be feasting for key. If you don't use the charge-up speed buffs, or if you don't use the charge-up speed buffs, this really makes a difference. And Pikkon also getting this, he always has a permanent Divinity Unleashed. Pikkon never struggles for any kind of key. And this extra key will give you an extra key bar for your entire team, including Pikkon, because it applies to him. And then Pikkon's 10th effect is, when a super attack is performed, the following effects take place to self 15 times. He stacks some damage, stamina recovery, and damage reduction. As you can see, when Pikkon's fully built up, he gets a massive 55% inflicted damage. Obviously, compared to Gogeta, who gets, 100, 25, 50, 175. Pikkon doesn't get that much, but he's still very formidable, though. And Pikkon, though, unlike Gogeta, he actually gets a crazy amount of stamina recovery. Gogeta gets up to 80%, Pikkon gets 150%. So Pikkon will be able to spam evasives very easily. And then Pikkon also gets a 1% damage reduction buff to allow him to be a bit more tanky. Remember, Pikkon gets up to 35% with this. 10, 10, 35. Or 10, 10, 15 is 35. So Pikkon's a monster as a support character, as an AI. Turles was, in my opinion, the best support up until Pikkon. But Turles still gives health. But Pikkon does everything Turles does, but better. But he has to die for it to activate. So if you have a quest, I guess like a good example here would be a good friend of mine, JSM, who's also a quest creator, has some 1v1 quests where your allies can't die. Pikkon would suck for it, but Turles would be better. But Turles gives health, which Pikkon doesn't. Keep that in mind. And then, yeah, so that's Pikkon. We'll go over his PvP soul, I guess. So Pikkon, the way the PvP souls work, these will always be the same. The stats are the same on every soul. They're always the same. Before this little line right here, the stats will never change between the PvP and PvE souls. So it's just to make it less complicated. So the only difference here is Pikkon gets this effect, which Metal Cooler gets as well. Which is which in game is, I believe, the Rosego Gulak effect. That's what the effect he gets. Pikkon only gets 10% though, and that's because he stacks all this shit. Like, I don't want him to being too crazy in PvP. But yeah, Pikkon, he seems like, well, he doesn't seem. I've tested him. He's very fun. I really enjoy Pikkon. I gave him the stacking effect because I really like his super attacks, and like using Burning Shot and stacking up just feels super satisfying. But Pikkon being a bit of a support death buff character, like he bodes well. He's a really good support for Gogeta, who of course got his buff as well. I mean, Gogeta is like, him or Vegeta is the best of these. I mean, you could probably make a case for future Gohan. I feel like he's like the best too, but I don't know, man. Pikkon though, he's very fun. He's very consistent. There's no bullshit with him. He's just good. Yeah. So that's Pikkon. Hopefully you guys enjoy Pikkon when you guys get to test him out. But Janemba is up next. So, of course, as stated in the breakdown, Janemba also got a Super Soul. But yeah, so let's go into Janemba. So Janemba, man. Before we begin, Janemba is crazy in my opinion. I really like Janemba a lot. Do I like him more than Pikkon though? Maybe. Let's go over his details. So he gets 33% max health, ki, and stamina, which is insane. That is the highest health buff any character gets, if I'm not mistaken. Broly gets 10, 20, 20. He doesn't even get any. I didn't even know that. 10. And these guys don't get stats. Yeah, so Janemba has the highest health buff out of every character, which is insane. And he gets 3.5 ki and stamina bars. And then he gets 40% stamina recovery, which is very good. He gets 66% ki recovery, which is very good, especially because Janemba has a lot of ki now. He gets a 75% inflicted damage buff. Prior to Super Gogeta, that is the highest inflicted damage buff in a base kit. He's at 10%. Broly's at 25%. Bardock is at, 25. Metal Cooler doesn't have any damage whatsoever. Majin Vegeta gets ki 20%. Yeah, Janemba is crazy. He gets 75% just permanent. Prior to, so originally, I guess a fun fact here plays into this point. Gogeta and Vegeta originally had 50% for this effect. Through QA and discussions, it was changed to 100% for both of them. So prior to that buff, Janemba had the highest inflicted damage to every character. Janemba now, though, does have a permanent 75% damage buff, and he gets the effects when getting boosting allies by 50%. Thing about Janemba, though, is this. So, he does get this 75% damage, but you'll notice he has no damage reduction anywhere here. This is to obviously balance him out a little bit, because it's crazy how much... This is just such a crazy buff. I was testing him out some quests last night, and dude, he just shreds everything. But he dies very quickly. However, he's not completely defenseless. Let's go into the next detail. When Dimension Ray is used, applies the following effects of self-attack duration 5 times. So he gets these. 1200% Ki Blast damage, 500% stamina damage, and restores health by 10% every frame during the attack. Which pretty much makes it so the attack will fully heal you. It might not actually be 10%. It might be like 5. I might need to change this. Like, whatever the number is in the code is what it'll be. So if it gets lowered if you guys notice it will get lowered, then it gets lowered, so. But yeah, he'll heal during the attack pretty much. It restores, it does restore about like 70% health. It's crazy. He doesn't get damage reduction, but this here is so useful. It's what Future Gohan gets, right? He gets the same thing. Dude, he's at 400%. But Future Gohan, you don't forget this. He gets 80% inflicted damage. He gets the 20% here. Like, he has a higher damage potential than Janemba, right? He gets this crazy thing 5 times, but, like, that's it, right? After that goes away, he's only at 75. Future Gohan's over 100% blast. So, yeah. That's pretty good. And then Janemba has a... Okay, so when this character hits a targeted enemy with a charged ki, the following effects apply to them. 5 times, permanent, stackable. Inflicts heavy poison. Heavy poison is a new mechanic introduced with Janemba. Heavy poison is 25% stronger than normal poison. And if you played any of my quests before, you will notice poison is like the ultimate victory to get you through those quests. Heavy poison is insane. It lowers enemy defense while at the same time making it so they take so much more damage. Like, it's the ultimate, like, quest destroyer. Well, he also has this. The enemy gets hit with 10% damage received, 10% damage dealt negative, and then negative 15% ki and stamina recovery. This I activate 5 times, and it can activate on one character who can completely hinder a boss with Janemba. He doesn't get damage reduction, but, like, he's just so crazy, you know? Like, he can just do so much. Janemba I really do like. I think Janemba might be one of my favorites from this batch. So, yeah, hopefully you guys like Janemba. He's very fun in game. This hits like a nuke. Like, he's a very fun character. Alright, and this is obviously on Janemba. Pikkon's is on Pikkon, obviously. So, Gogeta, we went over Gogeta in the other video. Yeah, Gogeta's crazy. Dude, this here, and then this. Like, when this is fully built up and this is active, like, dude, he's unstoppable. He's very good. But we'll go over his PvP soul. Oh, Janemba's PvP soul. So, Janemba has this, like, very similar effect in PvP, but he only gets, with this right here. But his actual 6th effect is different. He just gets regen when health falls below 30%. That's about it. Some damage stuff, right? And then he gets this effect here, but it only activates twice. And the heavy poison only lasts for 10 seconds in PvP. Well, in PvE, it's just, you know, permanent. But that's Janemba. So Gogeta's PvP soul. We went over normal Gogeta, crazy. Now his PvP soul. Warrior reaching the pinnacle, PvP. He gets all the same stats. However, his limit burst is changed to auto just guard in PvP. If you're not aware, Gogeta has a custom limit burst, which gives him damage immunity. That's not going to slide for PvP, so he's getting auto just guard. Like, no, he's not getting his own limit burst for that. He's just going to get this. And of course he has his nullification, but it only activates twice, and he gets no buffs from it. Of course, he normally gets a, this right here, he doesn't get that in PvP. And this activates twice instead of 20 times, and then this effect activates 3 times the Just Guard effects. He only gets 5, he still gets the 5% to both, but then he gets 5% damage reduction up to 15, 15, 15. So, PvP, he's still one of the best characters just because of this here, so. Yeah, he's fun. Okay, Gotenks. Now, Gotenks, going into this, I don't like Gotenks. I'm not a huge fan of him. However, after, you know, seeing Gotenks in action, I've actually grown to really like him. So let's take a look. So, Gotenks. 25% health. That is a lot, obviously. Janemba's at 33, Gogeta's at 30, Gotenks is at 25. He's a fusion, I gotta give him stats. 50% stamina, 5 ki bars. 100% stamina recovery is crazy. That's what Pikkon gets when he fully builds up his last part of his Super Soul. He gets 50% speed, which is the highest out of any character here. Any character here gets the highest amount. He's really fast. That's obviously in Gotenks' nature. He gets 10% damage reduction, which is solid. He gets an effective game boosting life plus 50%. He's not as strong as Gogeta, so he doesn't get 70. And then he gets the Metal Cooler thing, shortens zone revival time by 10%. And then his 8th effect is where things get interesting. When Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 3 is used, the following effect applied itself for 90 seconds. He gets these buffs. 150 here, 30% damage reduction, and then ki and damage recovery 100%. So he gets 150% damage reduction, 90 seconds, 15 times. When this is up, Gotenks is a menace, because he has 200% stamina recovery, which is just insane. And with the 2-bar evasive buff, Like, Gotenks is crazy. And he has 40% damage reduction, which is what Gogeta gets. It's crazy. And that's not it. The 10th effect is the same thing happens when you transform, but these effects apply to the targeted enemy. Reduces enemy stamina to 1. This is insane for bosses that have like 15 stamina bars. You just lower it to 1. You just transform, lower their stamina to 1, and then inflict them with a damage received plus 35% buff. It's insanity. Like, Gotenks is crazy when this is up. However, when it runs out, he's not. He's actually pretty bad. He has no damage up here because of this, because how broken he is, but like, he's really good when this is up. So another fun fact is Gotenks was originally a lot worse through discussions, of course. This was only 3 times originally, but now it's 15. Just for long quests, because it's only 90 seconds. And total, what is it? 90 times 15 is like 10 minutes or something he gets this for. But yeah, Gotenks is very fun. His PvP soul is solid as well. He gets the same, like ideology for his Super Soul. Like, it's still in line with his PvE one. However, the inflicted damage here is only for 50% and 10% damage reduction for 30 seconds. And then he only gets the reduces stamina to 1 effect once. All this only applies once. So yeah, be very careful in PvP. As soon as this runs out, it runs out. So next up is Buuhan. Buuhan. I'm just going to spoil it. I love Buuhan. I've had a lot of fun playing as him, and I really think you guys like him too. Like Janemba, he gets insane stats. He gets 8 key bars and 8 stamina bars. That is higher than Gogeta, who gets 30. He gets 8 key bars, but only 3 stamina bars. Yeah, that's the highest out of any character. He gets 50% stamina recovery, which is really good, and 75% inflicted damage, just like Janemba. Just for free. 75. Meaning, no matter, even if his effects were bad, he would still be shredding through enemies. Like, he's just crazy. However, just like Janemba, you can know he has no damage reduction. But let's get into it. His 5th effect is, applies the following effects to self after 5 minutes have passed from battle start. All this shit. He gets 75% speed. He absorbs Gotenks. He's pretty fast, and he's just fast in general. He has 100% key recovery. He gets 25% max key and stamina. Meaning, he gets 10.5 bars of key and stamina when this is up in total. And 5% damage reduction. And then he regenerates health by 1% every second permanently. Permanent! Dude. It's craziness. Like, holy hell, man. Like, I was using him, dude. Buuhan's insane. But you have to get this up first. But the thing is, though, his damage reduction isn't the highest, so he can die very quickly. But this is crazy. Dude, it's great. I really like Buuhan. And then, when an ultimate attack is performed, the following effects take place itself, 10 times only. He just gets a bunch of stats. He stacks, just like Pikkon and Turles and Majin Vegeta. He gets 70% damage, 10% damage reduction, and 70% stamina recovery. Dude, Buuhan's insane. He's just actually insane. His stamina recovery is not as high as Gotenks or Gogeta, but he's still insane. He has 50% damage reduction, which isn't a lot by any means, but it's all good. He also gets no health. No health in his Super Soul effects, like Gotenks and Gogeta. Buuhan doesn't get any, because he would just be too crazy. Like, he would just be far and away just insane if he got anything else. But Buuhan's very fun. So his PvP soul, it's very similar. This is wrong. This should be 30 seconds, not 5 minutes in PvP. Apply the following effects after 30 seconds of a pass from battle start. I need to fix this. So it should actually just say 30 seconds. So he gets a 1% health, he gets 25% speed, 100% key recovery, and 5% damage reduction. You'll notice he isn't getting the key and stamina in his PvP soul. I mean, it would just be too crazy, dude, if he did. But everything else here is he actually gets the same amount of stats, except his speed's only 25% instead of 75, as you can see. Yeah, so his 7th effect is he stacks still, but he only activates twice, and he gets up to 14, 10, and 30. Instead of 70, 10, and 70. So he actually gets more damage reduction in his PvP soul than his PvE soul, which I thought... Actually, no, he doesn't. No, it's 14, 10, and 30. I thought it was 14, 14, 30. Never mind. Silly me, silly me. But yeah, his PvP soul's solid. He's very fun in PvP. He's very good for damage. So Vegito's PvP soul, we all know Vegito is insane. Vegito originally was, thanks to, this is wrong, I should say 20 seconds, not 30. Yeah, after QA, Vegito was originally, he was good, but like, you know, he's really good now. And I really hope people like Vegito. I really enjoy him. He's very fun. I love running through Kamehamehas with the super armor, dude. So fun. But his PvP soul, we all know what his normal one does. So he gets the same ultimate attack effect, which is the super armor. But something interesting actually happens here. When the enemy uses an ultimate, there's actually some different effects. Instead of getting the unbreakable super armor, like up here, he instead reduces damage received by 100%. This is because how toxic super armor is in PvP. He doesn't get it in PvP. And he also gets 50% damage. Instead of 150. That's so crazy, though. Cause he still had 150 in PvP, dude. Vegito's crazy, man. And then he gets the Just Guard effects, just like Gogeta. He doesn't get offense. He just gets defense, stamina, key recovery, and damage reduction. Vegito is at 30% damage reduction. Gogeta in PvP is at... He's also at 30. Oh, interesting. Gogeta's PvP soul gives him 5%? Interesting. But Vegito, I guess, has more damage potential. Does he? 15, 100, 115. Yeah. Yeah, so Vegito gets more damage potential and all that. And of course he gets the status ailments, which nullifies heavy poison, which Janemba has. Same with Buuhan. Has Innocence Bullet, so yeah. But those are the changes to the Super Souls, guys. I hope you're all pretty excited for them. Here's the patch notes for the new update. We got Pikkon's character Explicit Soul. He has characters like voice lines. DBZ Broly has a new stance. This was supposed to be in the last update, but I ran out of time, so I just had to put in this one. You can now choose the title screen art you like from previous gameplay enhancer title screens. There's a suggestion from Diego SC on Xenoverse mod, very appreciative. Super Gogeta has a new custom stance. Custom artwork 18 was added. Janemba Super Soul and shit, his skill set was revamped. All these characters get that. New title screen, installer picture, internal data. Janemba now is named Super Janemba. Super Gogeta got his soul. The revive... Okay, so these are nerfs right here. So originally in the gameplay enhancer, you'll notice that in the screenshots, it shows revive speed being faster. That is true, but it was 25% faster. It is now nerfed to 5%. 25% was just too fast. And you also get 10% extra HP now instead of 25% extra. You also got extra HP when reviving, but I made it too high. You only get 10% now. I'm sorry about the nerfs, but I hope these Super Souls make up for it. Gotenks got his Super Soul, Buuhan, and then Vegito. And then, yeah, there's these bugs here. Turtless Metal Cooler, and actually Nemagoku had the same problem as Turtless, but stats not activating. But Nemagoku doesn't have stats, so it didn't affect them, but still, it's still fixed. But that's it for today, guys. Hopefully you guys are excited for these Super Souls, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.